Two question. How long last time did it take you to write your listing description?
Not because writing is hard, but because the MLS feedback must see your broker flagged it as a school reference and you had to start over for the third time at 10:47 p.m. Or question number two.
Question number two, for example, a counter offer hits your phone at 7:14 p.m. while you are with the kids at the soccer game or you're doing something in the house. And you worry about how you go through your dinner with getting that counter offer.
You finally sit down at 9 p.m. after you've finally had a chance, exhausted, and you're staring at a blank email. What are the comps? What is the gap between their counter and ours? And what do I actually need to say in this question? And how many of the emails have you sent looking back where the tone didn't give off the right message that you need? And this is really the pain of both of these things.
Exactly. Therefore, in co-work mode, sitting in the chat asking write me a listing description, write me a counter email, you are doing three jobs at once.
You're the writer, you're the compliance officer, and you're also negotiating with the co-work or the ChatGPT in order to get what you want. You're going to check the fair housing phrases, count words in the MLS for the cap, remember which neighborhoods the buyers actually are flexing on, and you need to now also add on to all of that, you need to think about how AI recommends the house that you're trying to sell with AEO and GEO. So this is just an extra step that you now have to think about. And if you're thinking about it and only using the chat mode, that's not a work mode. That's multiple jams cropped into one tired evening, and you're holding it all together.
Exactly. Therefore, today, me and my wife, Alan Victoria, dropping two skills into the Claude Code environment, which is listing description and offer counter, and build right to your MLS feed.
Yeah, right. So by the time you wake up or you get to where the data is already pulled, the pricing analysis is done because it's your pricing analysis. The counter email is drafted into your folder, and all of this is a plan to call. Just when you sit to your desk, you still on the phone call, you're still talking to the clients, you're still sending the button, but the co-work did a lot of the stuff for you. So when you sat down, you were just looking at what was already prepared for you in a brief, really. So let's talk about this. So again, we're going to go backwards in time because this is a really important thing, and I'm going to repeat a couple things we said in the last video because you have to know these things. Fair housing is the first thing we talked about in the first class, right? I didn't say that because it's not a vibe. There are three places this actually really matters in code. You have to always be building three things. You have to be building a memory file. So this is Claude, your MD, your memory file. If you don't tell it at the end of the conversation, save this in the memory, you're going to have a problem. So always say memory file. This way it's loading automatically into every session. And this is the first thing that the system's going to read before they even go to the next part. Or you can tell it if it doesn't do it, you say, hey, read the memory. And before it touches a property, a buyer, or an email. The second thing is what?
The second one is a skill, which is a package set of the instruction of the cloud loads when you call it.
So this is like slash whatever, right? Whatever you want to call it, because you can name it. And the third thing is the hook. This is like the one that's old school HTML, and this is the gate that blocks the task if a variable shows up. And so we're going to talk about this again. We're not talking about that. That's the foundation of the three things you really have to understand. We're stacking on top of it because we're building our real estate empire, and you want to make sure you have everything. So step one was fair housing. Now we're going to talk about listing descriptions, and we're going to talk about counter offers, and that's the whole point of an agentic system. Once you have a system, once you have a memory locked in place, the skills grow from there. So it's really the key. They're inheriting the rules automatically.
Exactly. Therefore, the first, and basically, you don't need to repaste fair housing language into every prompt. You don't need to recheck a school references manual. It's already there for you and is already enforced it to whatever you are creating. And that is what memory does for you. Now, let's talk about two more breaks of this wall that we are building together.
Okay, so the first time we talk about listing description, let's talk about this. Now, this is basically, you're going to go when you sit down to write 123 Main Street's listing description, you now have in your email or in a review folder on your computer, I choose the review folder, 10 compliant descriptions that would drop right in. You pick from those right away. In co-work, here's how it works. Here's the loop. You open the chat, you paste in the property data, you type, write me a listing description, Cloud or whatever system you're using, you're going to read it, you're going to write something, and you're going to read it. And if you catch all of the banned words, you say, don't do this, don't do that, you have to kick a rewrite. Now there's a school reference, rewrite that. Now that's 180 words, at least 3 times you went back. The MLS field is 145 words. Now you have to rewrite it again. So by the third one, you actually forgot what this whole thing is about. You're shipping a description that's technically compliant and you've lost all your emotional appeal with it because you went there. So let's talk. And co-work is great for figuring out what you want. The moment comes once you know what you want to start executing. And this is where skills and code come in.
Exactly. Therefore, now listing description skill is packaged a prompt that basically lives in your Claude Code repo. And it pulls the property data straight from the MLS through the MCP connection and no copy paste. And it has 3 locked blocks that we're going to talk about.
One is going to be your required compliance blocks, right? So that's why we did fair housing first. No school rankings, no demographic targeting, no best neighborhood language, no scarcity, won't last, must see, act now. No scarcity phrases like that. The second one you're going to have is required output. It has to be 145 words. If that's what your listing description must be, well, then that's what it must be. So it must have a required output. That's the MLS cap. You have to respect that on the first row go round. And of course, the property data block. What things that pull from the MLS, the bed, the bath, the square feet, the lot, the recent updates, the features that actually matter. You queue it up and then you go to bed. Or you go do whatever else you need. You bring the kids to school.
And if you went to bed over the night, the skill drops 10 compliant description into your review folder, 1 per active listing, ready in the morning for you. And when you wake up, you just had the sip of a coffee, you open that folder and you read it. You pick the one that you want, you paste it into your MLS yourself.
Basically, that's the thing co-work can't do. They can't do it at scale. And they can't do criteria every single time. You want 10 listings, 10 different options, 10 compliant descriptions ready before you even come back from home from school. That's not faster typing. You've already created the skill. You're not rewriting too much because you've already created everything you want. So you're going to get these variants. And maybe you're going to have different types of variants for your skill set. Maybe you're going to create the luxury skill, the new construction skill, the investor targeted skills. One frame is going to reframe the tones because you're not writing, you're redirecting. And maybe you don't know yet, so you're going to try a different one. So maybe the first one isn't listing, so you're going to switch it out to a different one, but you have 10 options now. So the data is flowing to your MLS skill, it's forcing compliance, and the drafts are there for you to pick and choose.
Exactly. Now, let's look at the skill number 2, the offer counter. And as we said, let's go that you're going to the bed, analysis or soccer analysis done before you wake up. The second button is still yours. And basically now, you need to be something very clear now at this point, and because you know that what's something that they are thinking right now, and you wanted to respond back based off that feedback.
Now I know you're thinking, I will never let an email automates go to my buyers or sellers. 100%, you're right, and you're not going to let the robot actually email them. That client relationship is our human relationship. Don't do that. The counter offer is not going to auto send. That's not the robot that we're talking about. It's an analysis. So you got this email at 7:45 p.m. You're at the soccer game. The analyst that you have in there that connects to your email will read the paperwork. It's reading the email. It's doing the paperwork overnight for you. So when you wake up or when you come home from a soccer game, you already see how you would have done that price analysis. So you already looked at it, and it's already sitting in a draft in your email for you to read, or wherever you want. You want it in a folder on your computer. It can put in the folder. So whatever you tell it where to give it, it will give it. Now on co-work mode, you can't do this stuff.
Exactly. Basically, in mode, a counter offer comes at the 7:14 p.m. for example. Again, you're with the kids game and you read it on your phone, you worry about it through the dinner. And now you sit down at 9 p.m. exhausted in front of the blank email. What were the comps? And what did your buyer actually flex on? And what is the gap? And you're doing math in your head, you're writing a copy, managing a tone, and second guessing yourself all at once. and all you're tired at the moment. And what happens in the code? So
basically in code, again, you're creating the system. You are not having anything else. This is how you would think it's your code. But in the same email, in the code world, the counteroffer comes in at 7:14. You're still at that soccer game. But basically, while you're still at that soccer game, the analysis portion in there already said, well, it's connected to the MCS of your MLS. It connects to your CRM. It's reading the transaction files already see. It's reading the counteroffer. And then it's also going through that fair housing overlay again. We have to make sure we're clear. But it's basically they've pulled the live comps from any specific things, especially if you already flagged it because you talked about it already. You're reconciling that offer, that counter offer with the current offer. So it's a line by line going through the price gaps, going through the closing gate gaps, going through the concession gaps, going through the inspection terms gaps, going through the earnest money, going clean copy side by side. It's also running a price analysis. So you can give it 3 value methods to anchor in the comp with these prices and defensible numbers so you can have a real conversation with your clients when you come home from that soccer game. And the drafts could be an email, maybe it is in a folder, that's up to you. It's not sent, it's drafted, it's collegial, maybe it's in a gamma, whatever you want it to be, and that's how it's coming. You're going to open the file however you've wanted to read the file, reading it, understanding it, doing your own research to make sure it's correct, always correct, because the first time we're training our bots, we have to train our bots to do it correctly, and you're having a one brief, you can now call the client. Once you've checked it yourself, you can call the client, call the listing agent, and really you now have data points to talk about.
Exactly. Therefore, when you wake up at 6 a.m., the analysis is done. You read the dossier with your coffee. You make one phone call to your buyer because that conversation is used. The relationship is yours, and no skill is ever going to replace it. And you confirm the strategy. You open the draft. You read it in your own voice, and you edit one sentence if you want. Then hit the send.
Now, again, the code did the analysis for you. You are still the human being running that code. That send button never left your hand. And why this matters, when you hold a price with a data back counter, the listing agent on the other side will feel the pressure, or the buyer's agent will feel the pressure that you have done your homework. Now, the difference between the hope and defend is going to be there, and you're showing that you're coming in strong with your numbers for this negotiation. It also changes how people think of you the next time it comes to your desk, because now you're the person with analysis. You're the person, you're not walking away hard. If it's a multiple offer scenario, you can now talk about that and have code for these things as well. So maybe you want to have variant skills within that skill. Maybe you needed to have the hard no, walk away, the multiple offer scenario, the seller side reverse offer, same MLS connection, the same analysis. Maybe you have different analysis that you want to run but based on that number. So you can actually set up all of your code. You're still the human in the driver's seat. You're just having the skills there. So when that email hit, you were already, even if you're at the soccer game, it is now working the way you would have wanted it to work. So again, you set up your system, and that's kind of the key. The data's flowing. You're the architect. You're still making the phone calls.
Exactly. Therefore, now we wanted to talk about how this architect work, how and why this compounds. And here's the most real estate agent miss when they look at the single skill. They think the one skill is like equal to one shortcut. It is not. One skill is one brick. A system, it happens to when the brick is stacked on the foundation that hold the structure. And look at what you have after part 1 and part 2.
Basically, you have your foundation already. We've already talked about fair housing. We talked about price analysis skills. We can talk about how to write your price analysis skills, because maybe your MLS is like mine. It's a little different. The listing description skill, 10 compliance email listings in your email or in your folder that you can now pick and choose and cut and paste. The counter offer, the skill that you've created. Every one of those bricks comes from the memory. Everyone respects the compliance gates, and now it is systems that are happening automatically. No action is happening without you. You aren't chatting with the chatbot. You're not asking. Here's what the analysis is going to be happening underneath what you say about it. So you want to, you can stay present on the kitchen table, you can watch the soccer game, you can wake up in the morning, you can help your kids at gymnastics class. That's our kids. But basically, you're the architect. You're not writing. You don't write the bricks. You don't even lay the bricks. You design the wall and you decide where each brick goes.
Exactly. Therefore, basically, you are going to stop.
The next one we're going to talk about, part 3, is really kind of where the fun one begins. How we're talking about lead nurturing that you can do with cloud. But that's going to happen next in the next one. No, tell me.
Exactly. You're going to stop rewriting listing description one at a time, and you're going to stop starting at a blank counter offer email at 9 p.m. and you are going to take the 2 skills that we released today, drop them into your cloud repo, and let them to inherit the fair housing overlay you already lock into your memory in part 1. Basically, skills do analysis, memory enforce the compliances, and the MLS feeds the data for you.
So basically, you're still the human being in all of this situation, but AI is really kind of doing the backbone work to where it's a little bit more systematic now. And that's the things I love to talk about at Prosperity Agent. One of the things I love about EXP is that I get all of this tech first, like support. My upline is support. We're happy to help you with helping you get your systems in place, because automation is here to stay. Might as well use it now while we can. And the link is in the description if you want to talk to us, because we would love to talk to you about all the amazing things at EXP.
Exactly. We are Alan Victoria Pinder with EXP Realty, and thank you for watching.
And you get all of us with that.
And don't forget to subscribe in our channel, watching all of our playlists, and we are here to help you with your success in real estate.